Thank you very much. Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here. Today, I want to focus on 3 points. The first point is why we need this sustainable blue economy agenda. The second is what the EIB, the European Investment Bank, the Bank of the EU, your bank, is doing in this agenda. And the third point is why and how we can scale up private investment. Well, the first point, I think it's quite obvious. I don't have to convince you all how important oceans are. Today, our life depends on the oceans. And this is something that affects us all. Directly or indirectly, we depend on the oceans. And this is why we need to push this agenda. We need to discuss how to invest sustainably in the oceans, and we need to discuss how to preserve the oceans and ensure that their use are sustainable. And we need to avoid the catastrophic consequences of inaction, because we know that we are facing risk of rising sea levels, the consequences of floods, but also irreversible biodiversity loss, as the Commissioner has mentioned. But there is also important economic benefits that we can get from the ocean. And in fact, around 3 billion people, 3 billion depend for their livelihoods on the oceans today. And in fact, this is a sector that has huge potential, and according to the OECD, the parts of the blue economy are expected to outperform the world economy growth in the coming years. And the contribution of the blue economy to global GDP is expected to double until 2030 to reach $3 trillion, which is more than the GDP of India, of the UK, or of France. But as I mentioned before, beyond the economic benefits, the oceans are crucial to address many of the critical challenges that we are facing today. And one of those challenges, and the priority in Europe, is the European Green Deal. If we want to win the battle against climate change, against climate warming, we need to address the problems that our oceans are facing. And in fact, today, we cannot harness the full potential of our oceans if we don't preserve their health and their integrity. Second message, what the EIB is doing to preserve the oceans and in the blue economy agenda. Well, first, as a policy-driven bank, as a public bank, we have invested in a sustainable manner for many years. And climate and environment has been something that at the core of what we finance. In the last 7 years, we have provided more than 170 billion euros to climate and environment projects worldwide. And this makes us the largest multilateral financier of climate action projects. And we are going to be a partner of the Commission in the implementation of the European Green Deal as one of the European arms for financing projects that are important for the future of Europe. So now for us, as the Commissioner mentioned, climate and sustainable, environmental sustainable investments are going to be a key priority. We want to put those investments at the core of what we do. We are already doing a lot, but we want to scale up our financing of those investments to 50% of our total lending. And we are already doing a lot. Last year, we financed 34 24% of our total lending went to the environment and climate, and this was 21 billion euros. But of course, we need to do more. We need to make sure that all that we finance is compatible with our climate work, that does not damage those works and those financing, and we also need to scale up private investments. And specifically on the blue economy, we have been working also for some time. We have 3 main initiatives. The first one is our sustainable ocean strategy, our Blue SOS, that we launched last year at our ocean conference, where we pledged to double our support to the blue economy, to blue economy sustainable projects, and to invest 2.5 billion euros in the next 4 years in those projects. This is the double that we were doing, and we are currently focusing very much in seeing how we can deliver on this commitment. The second initiative is that we are also working with other national promotional banks to address one of the key challenges that our ocean is facing, which is plastic, marine litter, and we wanted to work with others to address this, and we committed to finance 2 billion euros together with KfW and AFD in those projects to address marine litter. And finally, and I am very happy that we are able to announce today another initiative, and this is also a product of our fantastic work with the Commission, our fantastic collaboration, which is the Blue Sustainable Fund of Funds that the EIF, the European Investment Fund, is going to implement with the support of EFSI, the Juncker plan. So we will invest in venture capital, we will invest in funds to support sustainable blue economy projects, and we will be supported by a budget guarantee of the Commission. But my third point, and the Commissioner also mentioned that, is that, of course, the challenges that our oceans are facing, the amount of investment that are needed are huge. And public institutions, public banks can only be an instrument to support this, but we are a drop in the ocean. We need partnerships, and we need private investments. And we need to make sure that these investments take place. And public institutions like the EIB can be a tool to mobilize private investments. We can show that there is profitability in those investments. We can show, and we can use our risk mitigation tools, and we can provide technical assistance to make those projects investable, ready to invest, bankable, and we are committed to do so. So I think that at the end of the day, to sum up, what we need is to work together. We need collaboration. We need partnerships between the private and the public sector. This agenda is very important, and also this agenda can bring huge economic benefits, and we can do this in a sustainable manner. Thank you very much.
Emma, I was going to ask you one more question. Is there a microphone there? Let me grab it. I know the EIB is a member of the financing and the blue economy financing principles. For those in the audience who are not familiar with that, just explain, what does that mean?
Well, this is an initiative that we launched together with the European Commission and with some other partners as WWF and the Prince of Wales Sustainable Initiative. And what we intended to do with those principles is, to focus on 14 broad principles on what means sustainable investments in the oceans. Because sometimes what it's lacking is also clarity of what sustainability means in the ocean economy. And well, now we are going to have the taxonomy next year, and this will be a step in the right direction. But when we produced those principles, the taxonomy was not yet there, and we also thought that it was important to have a specific focus on the blue economy. So those are very generic principles that give clarity to investors and also show awareness. And we have a lot of companies that have already adhered to those principles. They have become principles of the United Nations. They are now under United Nations Environment Initiative under the UNEP fee. And we are inviting everybody in every corporate or finance company in the room to ascribe to those principles and to bring this awareness that we need to invest sustainably in the oceans.
Emma NAVARRO, thank you very much indeed.